Hello?
Put everything on. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Sorry, it's a little bumpy. I'm in the car.
As long as you're not driving.
No, I'm not driving.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to eat and talk to look at y'all at the same time. Forgive me.
It's okay. It's gonna be a little bumpy here and all this stuff. So, but it's okay.
I'm sorry. I was talking about my personal stuff at the same time. Don't Lord Jesus help me.
It's all right.
So y'all read case study 2?
Yeah.
All right.
I've already read mine and put mine in.
Oh, you did?
If it's wrong, it's just wrong.
Yeah, you were supposed to wait and put a reflection from the Zoom that we do.
Oh Lord.
That's the last part of it, and the link.
That's all right. You can still do it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to submit it twice. I think the way that box is set up, you can submit it twice, so you might be able to do that.
Well, how about I got it open now and I put my little reflection down at the bottom?
Yeah.
I sure am.
Yeah, it'll work. It'll work. Everybody got their stuff pulled up. I get mine hard copy.
Yeah, I got my hard copy here too.
I got mine on the computer.
All right, you ready? So we just gonna go through each of the questions, and then what else do we need to do? I forgot. Sorry.
I think that's it. Unless
that's it. Okay.
I missed something. I think we're just supposed to ask questions and have a scholarly discussion.
Yeah, and come to a consensus and see if we can agree about some things that Donna should do or should have done differently. All right, you ready? Everybody
Yep.
ready?
You ready,
Marchell?
I guess so. If I can quit thinking about my personal stuff, go ahead.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I got it. Okay.
We'll get there. Let's see. It says, so what guidelines could Donna have provided for the teachers prior to the grade level meetings? All right, what did you all say?
So I wrote that she should have looked at Marzano's list of classroom empowerment and effectiveness to even have an idea of what she was going to look for. So that she should have looked at, like, was she going to look at teacher characteristics? Was she going to look at classroom management styles? Was she going to look at content delivery or instructional strategies? Was she going to look at questioning? She kind of needed to decide what she wanted to observe first before she even approached the grade level meetings.
Yeah.
And then I said she could have led then the collaborative PLC with those teachers talking about that one goal that she had, but how could they get to it, kind of a thing.
Exactly. That makes sense. I didn't even think about it from that perspective, but all of that definitely makes sense. And I wish I had thought of adding that too. But what I did say is that I thought that Donna should have provided some form of a checklist or an overview or some best practice to support why she's decided to go the route that she has with this observation tool, because it talked about how Donna had been, the principal at the school for 10 years and how she had such a keen understanding of the teachers. But knowing all of that and knowing how she talked about having a problematic group, I think had she done a little bit more legwork to begin with, kind of like what you said, David, that she had taken what she knew and presented it to that small subgroup of teachers, I think it would have helped her be a little bit more impactful. I think it's the best way to put it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I guess my comment.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
I was going to say, I guess what you're saying is that she kind of should have done a survey of the teachers, you think?
No, what I was saying was basically like,
well, I don't.
She should have.
Well, I'm not answering her question, but what my comment was, pretty much I said that she should have provided information to the teachers prior to the meeting, which is pretty much what you all were discussing and about the detailed process for her meeting. And I just kind of listed, she should have developed an action plan where she could have wrote down her focuses such as like a meeting agenda, vision, etc., her achievable goals, set up a calendar, then set up a structure for her meeting, kind of look at each grade level to see what some of the norms, behaviors, things she's going to be looking for in the action plan, then compile a shared leadership planning strategy, for instance, indicating what some of the students in each grade level achievements should have been, how each grade was doing, what actions the teachers could kind of get together with her. Then follow up with the team to see who needs help in achievement areas, review it, and then lastly, motivate and empower the staff by giving them some refreshments or in liking themselves while they're in the meeting. I said all that.
Yeah, but back to what you were asking me, David. No, I wasn't saying like a survey. Basically, what I was trying to say, like a checklist Donna could have had, that would have showed the teachers, okay, this is what I want the observation tool to look like. This is what I'm thinking. Kind of her background and her research to support what she was saying. She had some best practices to support why peer observations were better than just administrative observations, that kind of stuff to support what she was trying to push. She basically like to be proactive rather than reactive. That's kind of the approach I think Donna should have taken with that.
So some of the things that I just mentioned, that could actually be part of a checklist.
Yeah.
Oh, I think.
I think what I see is that all three of us are saying that she didn't do her homework before she entered the meeting. She may have had an agenda, but she just should have done a lot more preload.
And it sounds like she knew, because like I said, she knew the teachers, she knew the clientele for what she was dealing with, but still she didn't. Like I said, I feel like she was more reactive rather than proactive. Because I think had she really taken the time to say, okay, I know I have these problematic teachers here, or I know I have
lost somebody here.
All of these different things, I think she would have been more effective, maybe.
Yeah, I agree with you in the sense that if she's been working there that long and she wanted to hand this over because she had such confidence, she should have had more specifics of what she could have said. That these are the things that I want to see, and this is what an evaluation should look like.
Yeah, because she said she had gotten the backing of the I can't remember who it was. I don't remember if it was the superintendent or someone at the district office level that she had the support of. So clearly she herself had did the research to support why this was best practice, but she didn't relay this information to the staff. So they're sitting there thinking, why are we doing this? What is this? She didn't answer the big questions as to why is this important. So that was part of that for me.
The only other thing I noticed that I thought was strange is that she pulled 5 of the most respected teachers, which is not bad, but she also pulled no formal leadership of teachers, like the department heads or whatever, team. So I don't know if that was a problem either.
That definitely could be problematic, I think, because just, and this is related to what we're doing, but talking about, the whole ABTEL process and all of that, what we're doing, I found it to be important to make sure that I was inclusive to include department chairs, new teachers, veteran teachers who had taught before but were new to our school. So again, I definitely agree with what you're saying, David, that she should have included a better variety of teachers as well. So
I agree.
All right, you ready to go to the next one?
Sure.
All right. So how could the teachers' final plans be effective for the instructional process? All right. What y'all say?
What you got, Marchell?
Okay, I have, I thought maybe that their final plans could have been geared toward more instructional purposes as they work together as a team to look at maybe the norms and the standards for each grade level. For example, when they were to ensure that they're following standards, to make sure they all got together on the standard and work on it, so that there could be grade instructional improvement. Even though I didn't see any data to indicate that their standards, according to, I guess, standard grading, I didn't see anything to indicate that they showed any changes above 3 above or 3 below when it comes to grading the standards, but I just think they could have gotten together more, develop a more effective process.
So you didn't think it was a very effective the way that they pulled their plan together?
You talking to me or Marchell?
Marchell, I thought. I think
Okay.
we lost her.
Is she gone?
Mm-hmm.
I can't see. Let me see. No, it says she's still in here. I don't know where she went. Marchell, are you there? Okay.
Okay, so for how could the teacher's final phase, one of the things missing from all three plans for me was the checklist. So that's kind of where I put in what she was talking about. A checklist of the observation that would focus on the group, summative and informative data. I didn't think that there was a commonality between their three groups. So there wasn't anything to do a summary of. So if you have three groups doing three different things in their own thing, that doesn't give you an overall good view.
Yeah.
And then I said the principal should have organized professional development, targeting the areas that she may have wanted to improve ahead of time, so that you kind of tell the teachers, this is what I'm looking for, and then teach them how to do it, and then go back and look and see if they are doing it. So I know that might be putting the horse before the cart there, but I was kind of thinking if you trained them and then looked at what you trained them on, are they doing it? That might have been a better approach. Then I think the last thing I said was the final plans could be effective if they were able to collect where the deficits and strengths were actually found. And then with that knowledge, they could have created an action plan. So I kind of said that's where their final plans should be trying to head to, but I didn't like their final plans at all.
Yeah, I kind of said a lot of the same things you said, David, too, but I talked about one of the biggest issues that I had with it was the fact that there wasn't any place for any type of feedback in terms of positive feedback or showcasing any areas of growth that was needed. And I didn't like the fact that there wasn't any type of measurable goals set. That's what I was looking for. Like you were talking about the formative and the summative, I was looking for something like hardcore numbers. We could say, through these observations, our instructional practice is going to change. Are we now going to see, more instructional practices within each of these classrooms? Like, what are we taking away by going in each other's rooms more than just observing them? But what are each of the teachers going to gain from this experience, other than saying that they did an observation? That's what I was looking for. And then, I like the idea of them doing it by grade level, but it almost maybe would have been more impactful if maybe a second grade teacher and a third grade teacher were together, or first and a kindergarten, and I'm not in an elementary setting, so I don't know. But I know, for example, if this were a high school setting, if you put an English teacher in a history teacher classroom or vice versa, they still would be able to take away something from them. So I don't necessarily know that just having like-minded individuals in a group together, how much growth is really going to take place. That was my concern with what she was doing. So I think it would have been more effective just if there were opportunities for growth within the instructional practices. But
I like that idea, because I'm thinking, like what you said, they could have done a vertical team where they picked a subject and they're going to watch first, second, and third grades of math or something like that as far as elementary schools go.
Yeah, and then it would help them to see too. Okay, if I teach third grade and if I'm focused on reading with the first grade and a second grade teacher, I'm going to see what my kids maybe didn't get at those lower grades, or maybe somewhere that they learned it a different way, and here I am teaching it differently. You know what I mean? Just these opportunities for growth. You get these questions answered that you.
I think Meagan froze. All of you froze again.
We're froze. Do you still hear us though? We're still moving. Do you still hear us?
So the third question we were looking at is, how would the principal be able to evaluate whether the new observation format was working successful for the students? What'd you see, Meagan?
All right. So I said that she would have been able to see it several ways if there were student growth goals attached to each grade level, because I think ultimately, and this is just my whole perspective of teaching and administrating and all of that type of stuff. The whole goal is student growth. At the end of the day, everything needs to come back to that ultimate goal. So I think if there were measurable goals set as it relates to student growth, then she would have been able to tell if the students were more successful. Because even if they kept the observations within the grade level, you could say, okay, you know, by the end of, you know, the second 9 weeks or the end of the first semester, you know, 80% of student averages have increased by at least 2 points. Because I think, you know, not only by doing the observations would the teachers be able to see best practice in other classrooms, but they would have been able to take something away for themselves to use to kind of elevate their students as well. So that was one way in which I thought she would be able to do that. Let me flip the page. You know, I'm in the car. See whatever else. I thought too, if they implemented some form of a common assessment too, to make even that more measurable, to see how it impacted students' grades. So if you didn't want to look at, okay, their average is increasing, but if we had some form of a common assessment to see how that correlates with the observations as well. Because again, like I said, you know, I have an English degree, so I'm kind of, my thinking is kind of different. But I think with the whole purpose of the observation is just not just to go into a room and see somebody teach and say, hey, you did a good job, work on this, bye. I think you need to be held accountable, you know what I mean, for the things that you're doing. So if there's something that's constantly, you know, I don't want to say evaluated, but if there's something constantly being monitored, then, you know, it's more likely that the students will ultimately, you know, win at the end. That's my little speech. I'm done.
I like that idea. I hadn't thought about a growth for them or a growth assessment. I think we're on the same page there, because I had said that I felt like she should have done some collection on grades, student performance, statewide assessments, something that gave her a baseline of where students were, so she should even know. And then I thought the deficit was on goals. She hadn't set goals. And so and I kind of said the same thing you just said, which is that it would be effective manner to determine that observations were working to improve the efficacy of teachers is basically all based on, if you don't know where, you have to know where your students are to be able to determine if they're growing or not. And then
exactly
get that same measure. And like what you said, that's the most important thing you're supposed to be doing anyways, is helping teach the kids. So that's the most important thing, I think, of these questions.
Yeah. Marchell, what you got? Is she still here?
Yeah, I can't. Let's see if I unmute her.
Okay, I'm here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, let me talk fast so this internet don't go crazy again. I was listening to you guys and I was looking at this question and I'm going like, as I went through the case study, I didn't really see, the only evaluation method I saw was when she agreed to videotape and added 3 questions to the teacher. And only thing I commented was I didn't think this gave her enough measurable data to collect. So I didn't see how she could evaluate whether observation was successful or not. So was I supposed to add something else? That's the only thing I added to my comment.
Yeah, you were supposed to say how would she be able to? So basically, give her some suggestions.
Okay.
How she would be able to evaluate. Right? Is that how you took it, David?
Yeah, and I think what you're saying is that she didn't even have enough to have measurable data to evaluate it. So that was the biggest thing.
Yeah, so you're saying she needed to add some more measurable elements, basically, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And was I supposed to come up with those?
Oh, I don't think so. I mean,
not necessarily.
Okay, all right, that's what I see. Right.
I mean, I think you pointed out the one thing that I didn't even really think about, which is that the only observation I was thinking she didn't have any of them, but that there was only one that she had was the 3 questions. So
yeah,